Tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everybody, and good evening, everybody. Today is a special day, and I'm starting a new, brand new discussion, series. Even though it comes under Dhammapariyesanā, this Abhidhamma, topics. They are, really brand new for this series. So, as you can remember that I and Professor Karivasam, we've been discussing different insightful discussions and topics last few months, and we successfully ended those conversations. So, after the conversation that I had with Professor Karivasam, I thought about something new that I could offer to all of you, and then I've been contemplating about Abhidhamma, but Abhidhamma seems kind of difficult to many in the subject itself. But I was thinking whether I could talk about whether we can use Abhidhamma for daily life. So that's the main concern in this series. Not just to study Abhidhamma from an intellectual or academic point of view. So that's the main thing. So that's why I call this series Abhidhamma for daily life. So Dhammapariyesanā episodes 9 start from today. And for today's talk, I'm going to be using what is Abhidhamma, a brief overview topic. Because before I dig into Abhidhamma, I want to share with you what is Abhidhamma, kind of an introductory note about Abhidhamma. So the first thing I want to share with you is kind of questions that people may have about this topic. So the first I would like to talk about this kind of question. How necessary is Abhidhamma study? That's a very good question. I think Abhidhamma is necessary. I mean, regardless of how it was originated, how the contents of Abhidhamma look like. Basically, I think Abhidhamma mostly talk about explanations of Sutta Pitaka, so that it really gives us the precise technical meaning of the Pali words that we can see in the Sutta Pitaka. So that's an interesting point to understand. So basically, I would give this as something to think about. Without Abhidhamma, it will be difficult to understand the terms in the Sutta. So the commentarians use Abhidhamma. So basically, we need Abhidhamma to understand the terms in the Sutta. But because Abhidhamma seems a bit intellectual on the surface level, you need some patience, right? Because you need patience. You won't understand Abhidhamma words and Abhidhamma context just in one day, right after you normally know by listening to Dhamma talk of a monk. So I want to tell you that we need a great patience to develop an understanding, within a maybe a short or long amount of time, right? So we can learn Abhidhamma by being kind of patient, because you won't get the meaning sometimes on the surface level. At the same time, we may need some time, and don't worry about it. So someone might think that, how does Abhidhamma affect our daily life? And what's the use of Abhidhamma for daily life? That's a very good question. So I would tell you that the use of Abhidhamma for daily life comes from this kind of a background. Now, the first thing is you better know the Pali terms. Now, this is very important, because I always say in English, we have some issues. Those issues can be putting to words in this kind of way. I would say that in English, when you understand the meaning of one or couple Pali words, you might think that in one context, the meaning of Pali word in English is this, and in another context, the meaning of Pali word is this. And you might also think that English words have their own interpretations too, definitions too. So it's kind of a bit difficult. That's why I encourage you, although you may study Dhamma in English or Abhidhamma in English, mostly you study Dhamma in English, to study the Pali terms in the sutta. So you try to use Pali words more than the English words. For example, I would say not samma vayama, but not right effort, but samma is good for right, because you won't know what are the other meanings of right, because right has a lot of meanings. So try to use a lot of Pali words, then you will easily understand different context of the Dhamma. So Abhidhamma helps you to understand the specific, unique, distinct meaning of the Pali words. So that's the main, but one of the most important uses of Abhidhamma for daily life. Because if you learn a lot of Dhamma, but if you don't understand the proper meaning of those Pali words, that doesn't make any sense, right? You just know the conventional meaning there. So then the first use is that you particularly, specifically understand the real, precise meaning of that particular situation, scenario, event with that Dhamma word. Second, Abhidhamma is all about the mind, mental factors, and then mental events and all that. So it's more psychological. So if you learn Sutta Pitaka, I mean those Nikayas, Diga Majjhima Samyutta Anguttara Khuddaka, but you still struggle to understand your mind events, I would say chitta, mano, vijnana, and all that. Abhidhamma is a better place to, clarify, sort of separate those confusions. I would say kind of dispel those confusions. So it's less likely you will be confused if you learn Abhidhamma to understand the mind, consciousness, mental concomitants, so on and so forth. So you will understand the mental process of mind and mind-related things much better than that you see in the Sutta Pitaka, the second one. The third one, I think I'm going to tell you, is you will understand what is really this thing called rebirth and this personal identity. Because Abhidhammika scholars, Abhidhammika senior monks, they had this issue when they were talking about the Dhamma more than the conventional truth, because in Abhidhamma they talk about the ultimate truth called Paramatta Satya. They had this issue called how can we present persons, Puggalas, because Puggalas are quite opposite to the Dhammas, right? Because in Abhidhamma we know that they always talk about there's no person, there's no I, me, myself. It's only the uniqueness, distinctive nature of intrinsic nature of the phenomenon. Then they sort of thought about how could we explain Puggala in the Abhidhamma teaching, because what will go away from somebody who passes away? So for that, we understand rebirth. That's why in Abhidhamma we see Bhavanga. So Abhidhammika books, they presented this Bhavanga concept. That's what we see in other Buddhist traditions too. We know in Yogacara, they call it store consciousness or Ali Vijnana. But in the Buddhist teachings, we know that they say, especially the Theravada Abhidhamma, they talk about Bhavanga. So Bhavanga simply means that they say that this Bhavanga goes away from the body, which is always subject to changes and all that. It's not very, it's not absolute. It's always change. and we call it life continuum. So you will know what is karma and what is rebirth, in exact Dhamma conditions, in exact Dhamma, when you learn Abhidhamma. So another use of learning Abhidhamma is you will know rebirth and bhavanga, which is inside of rebirth, with karma, better than you study from Sutta Pitaka. And also conditionalities. In one of my Monday's discussion, I talk about conditionalities. We call them patches. So the Patthana Pakarana, we see these patches, they're all scattered in that Patthana Pakarana. There are 24 patches. Patches means even the Dhammas are the distinct, unique nature of phenomenon, but the Theravadins say that they are not independent. They are always interdependent with other patches. I would say Avijja is Dhamma, but Avijja is always interdependent on asavas. And Sankhara is always, formations are always interdependent with other Dhammic factors. I would say Avijja, and then after that, Vijnana. So then conditionality, you will get a better sense of what is conditionality if you learn Abhidhamma. So basically, you will learn the real unique understanding of the Pali words. Also, you will learn mind and mind-related phenomena really well with Abhidhamma. Also, you will learn rebirth and personal identity and that kind of stuff. Also, conditionality, and you will understand Dhamma from a point that we always study in the Sutta Pitaka called Anicca Dukkha Anatta. Now, what is very interesting in the Abhidhamma is that Abhidhamma, to my understanding, is a substantiation of the Sutta Pitaka. So don't think that Abhidhamma kind of like underscores Sutta Pitaka or vice versa. Abhidhamma, as a canon, was started to address the issues that I wouldn't say they are issues. They were issues from the audience side. So those issues were addressed by the Abhidhamma as a canon. But now you will understand this term called Abhidhamma, this whole conversation about Abhidhamma, is a sort of controversial thing at the beginning in the history. But do not get confused. What I'm gonna share with you now is we're gonna look at different dimensions of Abhidhamma structures in the Sutta Pitaka. Why did the Theravada need Abhidhamma, and how it happened? The first, I'm gonna look at the definition. Now, you know that at the Buddha's time, Buddha never used Abhidhamma as a canonical thing. But we see in one of the suttas called Mahagosinga Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 32. In this sutta, we know that there are two words have been used, Abhidhamma and Abhivinaya. I'm going to show you this way, Abhidhamma and Abhivinaya. So these were the two terms that have been used in Mahagosinga Sutta, but not as a canonical book. Now, please keep this in mind. Now, this is not the Abhidhamma with the Abhidhamma Pitaka in the canonical text. Because you might say that there is Tripitaka, but at the Buddha time, Buddha never used the word called Tripitaka. The word Tripitaka came into existence after Buddha passed away. At the Buddha's time, Buddha used Dhamma and Vinaya. So Dhamma is Dhamma, doctrine, and Vinaya is discipline. So I'm going to tell you that when we look at the word Abhidhamma, there are two meanings. The first one is kind of an initial interpretation, definition. The other one is the later interpretation. That might lead to, to the compilation of Abhidhamma as a canonical text. So in the Mahagosinga Sutta, as I explained to you a while ago, 32nd Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, there are these two words, Abhidhamma and Abhivinaya. Abhidhamma in this sutta means not the Abhidhamma that we talk about. Abhi means about. Dhamma is Dhamma. Basically, it means a discussion concerning the Dhamma. Abhi is about, so a discussion about Dhamma. And the parallel word called Abhivinaya means a discussion about discipline. So if you think about Abhidhamma, there's a word attached to Vinaya, Abhivinaya. So Abhidhamma, Abhivinaya. So Abhidhamma, Abhivinaya, they were used to say a discussion about Abhidhamma, a discussion about Dhamma, or a discussion about Vinaya. So there is no meaning that, as we see in the canonical texts in modern times. So the later interpretation is the very famous one. Abhi means higher, and Dhamma is teaching. So basically it means higher teaching. So it looks like it's not about Dhamma, it's about higher teaching. So that might have led to this canonical works. So higher teaching interpretation, not the initial interpretation called Abhidhamma, as a discussion about teaching, discussion about Dhamma. And then, what is the use of Abhidhamma? A lot of people might ask this question. The use of Abhidhamma is to achieve Nibbana, the same thing that we want to do with Sutta Pitaka. But why Abhidhamma is so intellectual? You know, when Buddha passed away, after 100 to 200 years, there were a lot of monks, they were discussing, they were having their own versions of understanding. So they were interpreting. There were Theravada monks, there were Vibhajavada monks, there were Sautrantikas, there were Mahasangikas, and many more, Sarvastivadas. And you have to keep in mind, as of today, there are only two complete Abhidhamma traditions in the Buddhist teaching. One is Theravada, which has 7 works, which we will be discussing at the end of this discussion, and Sarvastivada. Sarvastivada also has their own version of Abhidhamma, which is a complete list of works. So, as you know, the purpose of Abhidhamma, learning Abhidhamma, the main purpose of learning Abhidhamma is to attain Nibbana, not to be just intellectual as you may think. Some people think, oh, Abhidhamma is a little bit difficult because it's with language, right? So that we don't want to go there because it's highly intellectualized. With this question, I want to share with you something. Some people ask, do we need to learn Abhidhamma to attain Nibbana? Well, I would say, with the things I shared with you about not understanding the proper meaning of Pali words and all that, I still encourage you to learn Abhidhamma, all of you. At least some knowledge of Abhidhamma, which helps you because you know that this is the particular Pali word, this is the particular Pali concept that you learn in the Sutta Pitaka when you look at Abhidhamma. But I can't say that only by learning Abhidhamma you will attain Nibbana. So that's a kind of a question because it depends on each person, right? So I still encourage you to learn Abhidhamma, but it does not mean that you must learn it to attain Nibbana. But however, there are a lot of benefits of learning Abhidhamma in terms of your daily life and in terms of your normal wish in your life to attain Nibbana. So better study Abhidhamma rather thinking that it's not something really interesting because of this highly intellectualized nature. And in the Sutta Pitaka, especially when you look at Sutta Pitaka, Majjhima Nikaya and Samyutta Nikaya are the most interesting parts of the Nikaya books, I would say, Sutta Pitaka. So if you look at Majjhima Nikaya, mindfulness and all that, and Samyutta Nikaya, which is really, really interesting about, highly philosophical thoughts in conventional language. So if you can learn Majjhima Nikaya and Samyutta Nikaya with an emphasis in your learning, you will learn a lot. But you need to understand that in the Samyutta Nikaya, Buddha talks about there are two truths, Sammutisacca and Paramatthisacca. Sammutisacca basically means conventional truth, while Paramatthisacca means ultimate truth. This is what we understand. So conventional truth is provisional and Paramatthisacca is not provisional, it's ultimate. Now we need to understand that Buddha taught Dhamma on these aspects. So whenever he taught, he was looking at the audience and what would be more beneficial. So people are in the conventional life, like all of us. So Buddha had to use Sammutisacca all the time by giving an emphasis for them to lead their lives into spiritual lives into Paramatthisacca. So we should not confuse these two. I think some people, they get confused. They always think Paramatthisacca is the Sacca that we should always keep. No. Sammuti and Paramatthisacca, they always exist in our understanding, and we learn Dhamma from conventional truth, and we should not underscore it. So, but we have to bring our conventional truth understanding towards Paramatthisacca, which we call ultimate truth. When we look at conventional truth or Sammutisacca, then we encounter some concepts, some words, some etymologies, some I would say some uses, I would say this way. So these are the things we encounter with Sammutisacca. Names we call samanya, nirutti, which we call expressions, turns of speech we call vohara, and designations panya. So Buddha had to use all that to talk about the conventional truth. Okay, but the most important thing is that Buddha never got, sort of like deviated from those concepts. For example, he particularly says in the Pottapada Sutta in the Digha Nikaya that he uses language, but he is not attaching to the language. The Pali word is Yahi Tathagato Aparamasati. Yahi Tathagato Voharati Aparamasati. So I use the language and those kind of things. I would say Samanya, Nirutti, Vohara, Panyati. I use names, I use expressions, I use turns of speech, I use designations, but I never attach to those things because I use these conventional things to motivate people to understand ultimate truth. Okay, with that in mind, we will need to go into the origin of Abhidhamma. There are two views of origins of Abhidhamma. I would first share with you the modern view, what we know from the scholars and in our own understanding. When you look at the canonical Abhidhamma, it's not the Abhidhamma we see in those particular sutta called Mahagosinga Sutta. At that time, Buddha never identified Abhidhamma as a canonical book. Buddha identified Abhidhamma as a topic. I would say Abhidhamma means concerning, about. So it's about Dhamma. It's not higher Dhamma. It's not something different Dhamma. It's inside the suttas that Buddha talks about that particular context. But with regard to Abhidhamma as a canonical book, as a separate book, as a separate teaching, that is very controversial in understanding to find out the difference between why in the Mahagosinga Sutta it was like that, Abhidhamma was used in that context, why in the Abhidhamma works, which are mostly historically compiled after the Buddha's death, are different, why it is higher teachings. So we know that when we look at some suttas also, we find out that there is this kind of a reference in some suttas, and this is particularly in one sutta, Mahagopalaka Sutta. Mahagopalaka Sutta is Majjhima Nikaya. Majjhima Nikaya is 33, 33rd sutta. In that sutta, there is this kind of a reference. It says that a learned monk is one who knows the Dhamma, Vinaya, and the Matikas. So when there is a learned monk who knows, when a learned monk knows Dhamma, Vinaya, and Matika, that would be very great. So that means Dhamma, Vinaya, and Matika. A monk has to learn these three. So basically, we now understand what is Matika. Matika, we call them matrices. One Matika we say matrix, and plural of matrix means matrices. So we can see Matikas in the Dhammasangani book, the first book of Abhidhamma. That means Matikas are the contents of Abhidhamma. But even though Buddha has not told Abhidhamma as a word called Abhidhamma, but he used the term called Matikas. So Matikas are the content. If you look at Abhidhamma, you will see a lot of Matikas in the Abhidhamma Pitakas, the canonical works. So now this sutta called Mahagopalaka Sutta, which is the 33rd sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, clearly says Matikas are very important for a monk to study. That means even though it was not the word called Abhidhamma was not used in the way how we know now as a high teaching in the early Buddhist texts, but we understand there was another substitute word called Matikas for the Abhidhamma. And we also see this Matika, the word called Matika, which is the precursor to Abhidhamma, in couple more suttas. I would name them. And they have been extensively used. Sangiti Sutta, Digha Nikaya, 33rd Sutta. Dasuttara Sutta, Digha Nikaya, 34th Sutta. Pasadika Sutta, Digha Nikaya, 29th Sutta. Samagama Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya, 104th Sutta. So in all these suttas, we can see the extensive use of this word called Matika. That means even though we do not see the word called Abhidhamma as a canonical word that we know with the canonical Abhidhamma works in the early Buddhist books, early Buddhist Nikayas, but we have this substitute word that was in use at that time called Matikas. So that means this Abhidhamma was in use in a different way with a different word at that time. So we can say Abhidhamma was started after the Buddha's death. It was kind of being used by the monks and all that with this word called Matika. Okay. Okay. And we know that, and now we move on to the traditional view because we talked about the modern view. So the modern view is very specific about the use of Abhidhamma and the substitute words in different books. But in the traditional view, it's very famous, and you know that. It is said that in the 4th week of the Buddha's enlightenment, awakening, and Buddha spent 7 weeks, 49 days with special things, and the 4th week, it is said that Buddha contemplated Abhidhamma. So it's a view that we know in the Theravada books, and also more importantly, we know that there is a different origin that has been attributed by Theravada monks and nuns towards the origin of the Buddha, the origin of the Abhidhamma, is that it is said that Buddha went to heaven called Tavatimsa to teach Abhidhamma. Now, this happened in one of his vasas, and his main intention was to teach Abhidhamma to his mother called Maya Devi, who passed away after 7 days of his birth at the age of 40, and he was supposed to be born in Tusita heaven. But what the texts say is that he didn't go to Tusita. Buddha didn't go to Tusita. But Mother Maya Devi, she came to Tavatimsa to learn Abhidhamma. After teaching Abhidhamma every day, Buddha, it is said that Buddha came to the human world, especially to Anotappa Lake. Now, scholars have different understandings. That I know some scholars say that in the Buddhology studies, this Anotappa Lake is supposed to be Great Lakes. I don't know, I mean, how correct is that? But anyways, it is said that every day after teaching Abhidhamma to Devas, including his mother, Buddha came down to Lake Anotappa, and then he had his dana alms at that time in that area, and he also taught Abhidhamma. He taught to Devas, including his mother, to Sariputta. So every day he comes down to Lake Anotappa and then taught Abhidhamma to Venerable Sariputta. So the Theravadins are trying to say that Sariputta, Arahant Sariputta, is the one who propagated Abhidhamma, because he knew from Buddha every day in that vasa that Buddha taught Abhidhamma, and then he, at the end of every day, he came to the human world, to Lake Anotappa, and then shared that Abhidhamma with Arahant Sariputta. So this is the most famous origin of traditional view about Abhidhamma. So there are two views. One is the modern view that we see in the suttas called Mahagopalaka Sutta and Mahagosinga Sutta, where we see in the Mahagosinga Sutta as a Dhamma discussion, concerning Dhamma discussion. It's about concerning. And in the Mahagopalaka Sutta, we see there is another word called Matika to replace Abhidhamma at that time. But that's the modern view. But the traditional view is twofold. One is that Buddha contemplated, reflected Abhidhamma in the 4th week of his enlightenment. And the second traditional view is that Buddha went to Tavatimsa and then taught Abhidhamma to his mother. And every day after he taught Abhidhamma to Devas in the Tavatimsa, he came down to human world, precisely the area called Lake Anotappa, and then shared that Abhidhamma with Arahant Sariputta. So this is what the Theravadins talk about in terms of the genesis, origin of the Abhidhamma. So now we talked about the definition, we talked about origin, and now we move on to the contents of Abhidhamma. So what are the main contents of Abhidhamma? It's very interesting. So the main thing that we should understand is that Abhidhamma is a place where we see psychology and philosophy as one place. Now, in the Sutta Pitaka, we mostly see philosophical points, but Abhidhamma is both a place of philosophy and psychology, but not in the modern sense, but in the sense of Buddhist philosophy and psychology. We know that when you come to Abhidhamma works, we understand that in Abhidhamma, we understand that Abhidhamma is very, very specific about understanding the intrinsic, unique, distinct nature of specific names of the Pali words. So that's the main thing. That's why we call it Abhidhamma is mostly about the uniqueness of the Pali words. So this uniqueness could be on the aspect of words or on the aspect of concepts. Now, if you take a look at Abhidhamma as a whole, we know Abhidhamma mainly talks about 4 important things. We know what they are. Chitta means not thought, state of consciousness, and Chaitasika, we call it mental factors. Rupa is materiality that we don't see in the previous 2, Chitta Chaitasika, and Nibbana, the ultimate goal. These are the 4 things that we see in Abhidhamma. So, in order to understand the word Dhamma, we have to study how is the Dhamma being used in Chitta, Chaitasika, Rupa, Nibbana. We know that in the Abhidhamma, in the list of these 4 main things in Abhidhamma, there are 82 Dhammas. Okay, what are the 82 Dhammas? We know there are 89 Chittas, right? There are 89 Chittas, and then how many Chaitasikas? 52 Chaitasikas, and 24 28 rupas and Nibbana. When the Abhidhamma teachers take Dhamma as a set of 82 Dhammas, how do they take? They don't take Chitta as 89, but inside of the Chitta there are 89. They say Chitta is 1 Dhamma, Chaitasika has 52 Dhamma, Rupa has 28 Dhamma, Nibbana is 1 Dhamma. So there are 82 Dhammas. Okay? So Dhamma means intrinsic nature or distinct, unique nature of phenomenon, whatever those individual phenomena. So even if you take a look at these 82 Dhammas, 81 Dhammas are conditioned, sankatas, and 1 Dhamma is unconditioned. How does it happen? 81 Dhammas are sankata. That means Chittas, Chaitasikas, and Rupas, they all are conditioned. And Nibbana is only 1 unconditioned Dhamma. So 81 Sankata Dhammas, 81 Sankata Dhammas, and then 1 Asankata Dhammas. Okay? So that's very interesting. And I want to share with you now, this is the discussion about contents of Abhidhamma. So the first thing is the Dhamma. So there are 82 Dhammas, and in that we talk about Chittas, Chaitasikas, Rupas, Nibbanas, and Chitta, Chaitasika, Rupa, they are conditioned, and Nibbana is unconditioned. Okay? And another very important content in the Abhidhamma is conditionality. As I told you at the beginning, we talk about 24 pachas in one of our Monday discussions too. And in this particular teaching called conditionality, it is said that no Dhamma is independent. All the Dhammas are interdependent. That's why I want to share with you this thing. Let me share with you. Okay. Pali Abhidhamma is not a type of pluralism since it relies on both analysis and synthesis. Now we know that even though there are a lot of Dhamma, how do you call Dhammas, like number of Dhammas, I would say now here 82 Dhammas, people might get confused. Oh, we have to learn 1 Dhamma, 2nd Dhamma, 3rd Dhamma, 4th Dhamma. No. Every Dhamma is connected. That's why it is said that we have to do an analysis. Also, we have to do a synthesis we call Veda and Sangaha. So when you learn Abhidhamma, you have to practice learning the both analysis and the synthesis. Because the teaching of Dhamma in Abhidhamma rejects the two ends, pluralism and monism. Now, if people say that when you want to learn Abhidhamma, you have to learn all the Dhammas differently, without connections, without conditionality, then that will become a pluralism, which is wrong. And if you also think that each Dhamma is different and they have no connection to each other, that will become a monism, monistic theory. So we call it sabbam pututtam, sabbam ekattam. So this is kind of a binary opposition, and Abhidhammikas reject these two. Abhidhammikas say there are 82 Dhammas, but they all are interconnected. That's why we said that you have to learn analysis of each Dhamma, and also you have to see synthesis of what that means is that the connection between all the 82 Dhammas, they are all connected. So you have to see synthesis as well as analysis. First, you may need to know analysis, and then you need to know synthesis. Okay. So that's interesting. Now you know the main contents of Abhidhamma is learning Dhamma as a dependent and synthesizing interconnected nature, and there are 82 Dhammas, and you also learn conditionality and karma and rebirth. We will learn this particular karma and rebirth teachings in Abhidhamma with a chitta viti, mind, how do you call, mind event, or how does a state of consciousness get registered. There are 17 moments that a chitta has to pass through to get registered. So it's very interesting. So if you want to learn karma and rebirth in its full context, you must learn Abhidhamma, because Abhidhamma says how does bhavanga, what you call what you have from the past lives and what you will go with acts on your present life, your present life, and how does it affect you. Now, for example, I would say, because I'm going to be talking this with a separate discussion, whenever you think something, let's say you're looking at the Buddha statue behind me, the moment you're looking at the Buddha statue, this drawing, that moment, I would say in Abhidhamma they call atita bhavanga, atita charana, atita pachcheda. That means that particular sanya has to go through 3 moments of your bhavanga. That means every time you think, just before it gets registered, that thought, I would say it's sanya, because it becomes a thought at the end of 17 moments, that sanya has to go through your bhavanga. That's where your past life connections apply to that particular sanya and then ultimately become a thought. So it's pretty interesting. That's why Abhidhamma is very interesting, because we don't see bhavanga that much in the Sutta Pitaka. So when you want to learn who are we, what will happen to us, what happened to us in the past, what will happen to us in the future, what is happening to us now, all that will be delivered, all that will be discussed with this bhavanga concept, which you see under the chitta viti in Abhidhamma. So that's one of the very important contexts. Okay, they are the main things. So as I told you, the intrinsic nature of Dhamma, as well as the conditionality of the particular all Dhammas, 82 Dhammas. We'll talk about 82 Dhammas in Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma only accept 82 Dhammas. 81 Dhammas are conditioned, 1 Dhamma is unconditioned. So Chitta, Chetasika, Rupa, they all are conditioned. Nibbana is unconditioned. So that's the main teaching. And also the psychological aspects of mind, Chitta and Mano. You can learn that very, very good if you learn Abhidhamma. That's another one of the contents. Also conditionality and rebirth and personality. Now someone might wonder, how does this apply to daily life? Yes, it applies to daily life a lot, because if you understand your mind, called Mano, chitta and vijnana better, you can take care of your mind way better than you did before, just from a conventional point of understanding. So if you learn your mind better, if you learn your chittas better, if you learn your vijnanas better, you have a better chance of taking care of them. Also, if you learn the intrinsic nature, conditionality, synthesis, analysis of dhammas, then it also helps you to understand I, me, myself, that conventional truth from ultimate truth called Paramatta Satya that you see in Abhidhamma. And also karma and rebirth, which is pretty interesting because you will get a very good understanding of how things will happen to you when you die, and how were you born, and how you're existing now. So you can learn all that by learning Abhidhamma for daily life. Now we turn on to the last aspect of this Abhidhamma study, because this is kind of an introductory note. It's about Abhidhamma text. Now even the Theravadins talk about 7 Abhidhamma books. We know for sure that one book was added in the third convocation, which you call Kathavattupakarana. The monk called Venerable Moggaliputta Tissa. He had to refute some heretic ideas of different other schools, so he had to compile that book called Kathavattu. Except Kathavattu, all the other works, according to Theravadins, Theravada monks, they were compiled at the time of the Buddha. And I also want to tell you that if you even leave Abhidhamma and look at only Sutta Pitaka, you also see some Abhidhamma type books in the Khuddaka Nikaya. For example, I would say Patisambhida Magga, Nettipakarana, and Petakopadesa. Some of the books are not in the Khuddaka Nikaya in Sri Lanka, but in other places like Burma and Thailand. So these works, they have this Abhidhamma style of analyzing and synthesizing Dhamma. So that means even you look at this from a canonical perspective, say for instance that even if you think that they were compiled by monks, but the style of Abhidhamma, the nature of Abhidhamma, and I would say taxonomic nature of Abhidhamma, classified nature of Abhidhamma, is still can be seen in some Sutta Pitaka works, like in Khuddaka Nikaya. We know Patisambhida Magga, Nettipakarana, and Petakopadesa. This how we call analytical knowledge, synthesizing knowledge of Dhamma. They all can be seen in a couple books in the Khuddaka Nikaya, but not in the way how we see in Abhidhamma, but we see the elements of Abhidhamma style in those works. One of the 2 books, before we move on to the 7 books, I want to share with you. One of the 2 books that have highly influenced the Theravada people in Theravada countries are Visuddhimagga and Abhidhammatta Sangha. They're all written in the 5th century. They are treated as really good teachings of Abhidhamma. Because most people they are reluctant to read main Abhidhamma 7 books, but they read these 2. But I encourage you to read the main books, because Visuddhimagga and Abhidhammatta Sangha, they were compiled at a later time. You can read them too, but you have to start by reading from Dhammapariyesanā. So the first book that we know in the Abhidhamma, the real Abhidhamma, is Dhammapariyesanā. So Dhammapariyesanā, the word itself means it's about Dhamma. It's about the intrinsic nature of Dhamma. Now, this book has 6 chapters. The first chapter, it deals with couplets and triplets of Abhidhamma Matikas. Now, as I told you, Matikas are matrices, and Dhammapariyesanā deals with matrices of Abhidhamma in couplets and triplets, and also the couplets of the Suttanta Matika. That means Dhammapariyesanā focuses on sutta-based matrices too. The first chapter. Second chapter, it talks about 89 states of consciousness. Chittas, 89 thoughts. I wouldn't say they are thoughts. I would say 89 states of consciousness. Because in the Sutta Pitaka, we know when you say chitta, it's a thought, right? In Satipatthana Sutta, sadhosa, samoha, they all are thoughts. They are not state of consciousness. And Abhidhamma, it's pretty much deeper meaning. I would say chitta in Abhidhamma means the whole process of consciousness, right? So that's what we understand by chitta. So the Dhammasangani, the first book of Abhidhamma, in the second chapter of Dhammasangani Pakarana, it deals with 89 states of consciousness. The third chapter deals with 52 mental concomitants or mental factors. Now, after today, from next week, we're going to be studying 89 states of consciousness, 52 mental factors, Rupa and Nibbana, gradually. So you will know what they are in clear terms. So you have to keep in mind that 89 states of consciousness can operate without Cetasikas. There are 7 Cetasikas, we call mental factors, that must be used with any state of consciousness. We call them Sabbachitta Sadharana. Sabbachitta Sadharana means a seven set of mental factors that must be used with every state of consciousness. And there are another 6, I would say, optional Cetasikas, we call mental factors, that may be used, that may be not used. We call them Pakinnakas. So Sabbachitta Sadharana Cetasikas, they will be with every chitta, every state of consciousness. That means you see there are 89 states of consciousness. So in every state of consciousness, there are 7 Cetasikas, always being used. And there are 6 Cetasikas out of these 52. They can be used at times differently. So the third chapter of Dhammasangani deals with those 52 mental factors called Cetasikas. The fourth chapter deals with corporeality or Rupa. There are 4 main rupas and 24 upadaya rupas. So 4 main rupas are, as you know, it's very famous. I would say earth, water, air, fire. Patavi is earth, Apo is water, Tejo is fire, Vayu is air. You have to keep in mind that they all arise together in different combinations or saturation. So they all combine together, and there are 4 those kinds of Mahabhuta rupas, 4 main elements, and then there are 24 subordinate, subsequent rupas. So there are 28 rupas. Okay, that's what we see in the 4th chapter of Dhammasangani. And the 5th chapter is about application of Abhidhamma Matikas that we see in the 1st chapter. 6th chapter is about Nibbana. So when we study Abhidhamma, we mostly study Abhidhamma from this first book called Dhammasangani, because it's pretty easy and pretty impressive about the whole Abhidhamma. The second book is called Vibhanga. Vibhanga itself means analysis or classification. There are 18 chapters. What we see in that Vibhanga book is in each chapter we see classifications of different Dhamma factors. I would say 5 aggregates, 12 bases, 18 elements. So there are analytical descriptions about each. Third book is called Dhatu Katha. Let me put these books into the screen. Okay, Dhammasangani. Second one is Vibhanga that just talked about. Dhatu Katha is the third one. Dhatu means elements. So in the Dhatu Katha we see that this particular book deals with 18 elements we see in the Madhupindika Sutta and other suttas in details, descriptively. The 4th book is called Puggala Panyati. Puggala Panyati itself means Puggala is persons. So basically, in this book, we find out about different people. How do they learn Dhamma? How do they attain Nibbana? So it's pretty interesting to learn about different people and how they, how they journey in the spiritual path. And the Kathavattu is the fifth book, which I said that it was added later by Moggaliputta Arhan Moggaliputta in the third convocation. In this book, we know there are 200, more than 200 debates. But there's a problem. It does not identify the audience. We don't know who Arhan Moggaliputta had these debates with. But there are debates about different heretic ideas, and Arhan Moggaliputta could refute those heretic views. The sixth book is called Yamaka. Yamaka means pairs. You know this Yamaka word Yamaka in Dhammapada, Yamaka Vagga, pairs. So two things. So usually what we know in this chapter is it's kind of twisted and vice versa, Abhidhamma questions for deep understanding. It's like a twisted vice versa kind of Abhidhamma questions. I would say Mula Yamaka, that means about the roots. Kanda Yamaka, about the aggregates. Ayatana Yamaka, it's about the sense bases. Dhatu Yamaka is about the elements. Satya Yamaka is about the truthfulness. So there are different twisted vice versa questions that have been addressed in this book called Yamaka. Finally, Patthana. Patthana means courses. I would say this is one of the very interesting piece of the Abhidhamma book that we must learn, which has the 24 conditionalities. How does each Dhamma connect to the other Dhamma, in an analytical way as well as in a synthetical way. And we talked about these 24 paches, which you call these conditionalities, in one of the Monday's discussion. So what I recommend you to learn, you're going to be learning with me in the weeks coming up, but if you want to really know what you seriously want to learn, in the first place is Dhammasangani and Patthana. So my preference for you to learn is Dhammasangani and Patthana. It doesn't mean that you should leave the other books, but to get a sense of what the main types of Abhidhamma teachings, you must learn Dhammasangani and Patthana. But don't worry, I'm going to be teaching you the main contents of Dhammasangani in the subsequent Wednesdays with our discussions. Also, Patthanas. So Patthana means 24 paches, conditionalities. So we're going to learn all that slowly, and you don't need to sort of rush. You don't need sort of like confused about any of these. So first, we talked about the definition of Abhidhamma. We talk about the purpose. We talk about the origin. We talk about doctrine. We talk about the different Abhidhamma works. Let me see if there are any other questions that have been asked today. How necessary is Abhidhamma study? As I told you, we want to learn the real meanings of Dhamma, so we must learn Abhidhamma for that. Otherwise, we won't learn the real meaning, because nowadays people explain Dhamma in other languages, so there may be a lot of confusions because of that. I encourage them to teach Dhamma, but when you learn Dhamma in your different language, you must keep in your mind, try to learn the Pali words. In order to learn Pali words, Abhidhamma will help you a lot. And also, learning the intrinsic nature of Dhamma and conditionalities of Dhamma, karma and rebirth, and more importantly, to learn about your mind, consciousness, and thoughts. You will learn Abhidhamma. Would be the best place for that. How should we learn Abhidhamma? Slowly. Don't rush. That's why I'm telling you that we need great patience to develop understanding a tiny amount of time at a time. To hurry, because you need to keep in mind that all these are experiences, although they are in the books, right? In whatever the books, Dhamma or Abhidhamma works. So we have to keep in mind that Abhidhamma is an attempt, intellectualized attempt to learn Dhamma in a pristine, in a precise way. But it doesn't say that experience is less important, because all these teachings are experiential, empirical things. That's why I'm telling you that you have to take time, because you have to merge these teachings with experiences, right? Take time and learn slowly. This is one of the very interesting things to understand. I would say, as the Buddha said, better to study a few lines carefully and wisely than study all the texts and details with wrong understanding or for the wrong purpose. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you learn, how much you read from whatever the text. It does matter that you learn one thing correctly. Now, Abhidhamma is one of the finest place for that. Without Abhidhamma, it will be difficult to understand terms in the sutta. Okay, so these are the main things that I want to share with you today. So, in today's topic, what is Abhidhamma? I shared with you what is Abhidhamma and how it was originated, the purpose of Abhidhamma, contents of Abhidhamma, and specific Theravada Abhidhamma books that we will be studying, gradually in the next couple of months. And I hope you learn. And I want to tell you that stay tuned for the next Wednesday's discussions, and you will learn each and each. Now, I would say we're going to be starting off with the first type of chittas, and we know there are let me see. So the first Abhidhammic lesson that we will be studying is going to be unwholesome consciousness, the state of unwholesome consciousness. So there are 12 unwholesome consciousnesses. Then we'll be discussing what they are, as well as each particular word of this unconsciousness wholesome states. Could be different terms, and how can they be practiced, how can we avoid these 12 in our daily life. That's very important, right? So there are 12 unwholesome state of consciousnesses, and then we will be studying then 18 rootless consciousnesses, and then the wholesome consciousnesses, and all that. Slowly we take time, and then slowly we will be studying all that. The main purpose is to give you an understanding so that you will practically apply them in your day-to-day life. How it will happen is you will understand your mind better, consciousness better, chitta, thought better. You will understand karma and rebirth better. You will understand dhammas better than you learn from suttas, and you will understand conditionality much better than from the learnings that you had before. So these are the main plans for the next Wednesdays. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to share all the good karmas that we accumulated from all these ways with the deities and the departed people. May all the good karmas we've been learning in all these ways be shared by all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñāteyo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñāteyo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñāti. Let me put it here. Okay. Let's share all the good karmas with the devas and nagas. May all the good karmas that we've been accumulating in all these ways be shared by all the devas and nagas who protect you and the whole universe. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu lokasasanang chirang rakkhantu desanang chirang rakkhantu mang paranti. Finally, it's the wish. And although you study Sutta or you study Abhidhamma, the same wish, we all want to attain Nibbana. So may all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways by learning Abhidhamma, at least an introductory note, and we will be discussing further about Abhidhamma in the next couple of Wednesdays. May all these good karmas be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to be blessing you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana silisse nichang vadha pachayino chataru dhamma vadhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti me vacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati samirinjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. One last piece of advice before I close today. Do not take Abhidhamma just as a mere intellectualized version. Take it into a level of your understanding to better understand Dhamma. Otherwise, you will never understand Dhamma. You will get stuck in the intellectual teachings, because this is a place where Dhamma has been intellectualized. Simply because it's intellectualized, do not just think, oh, I know Abhidhamma, I know everything. Not that way. You have to bring this Abhidhamma knowledge into wisdom that we know in the Bhavanamya Panya, in the Sutta Pitaka. Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Have a good day. Take care.